happy holidays to everybody watching right now. I hope that this time of year, I know it's snowing where Leon and Wilson are. I hope that you are having a truly peaceful and joyous and beautiful holiday kickoff. You know, I know many of you have celebrated or experienced Thanksgiving, and now you're in that kind of time of year where it's like, okay, we're moving into the final holidays of the year. We're moving into the last few weeks of this year. We're moving into a brand new decade. I mean, I don't know, has that settled in your heart and in your soul yet? I mean, what a big deal to finish this decade and hopefully finish it strong, finish it with presence and joy and real reverence for life. That's why I love the holidays, because that's what it gives me. I always lock in on my presence this time of year. I go, oh, you know what? This is the time to be incredibly present with my family. Let me be incredibly present with my team. Let me be incredibly present with my own art, with the things that I'm doing. But also, let me make sure I bring the joy. Let me bring the emotions and the energy into this time of year that I would love to experience and role model for other people. Because you and I both know a lot of people who are stressed out, freaked out, and overwhelmed at the end of the year because they have so many things to catch up on, so many things to do, so many, mouths to feed, gifts to send, shopping trips to take, tasks to complete. I know it's a lot. And so I always remind myself that when other people are truly taxed, when other people are overwhelmed and stressed, I got to realize that even if I have those things, the way that I deal with those things can be a role model for other people. The way that I deal with those things can imbue other people with positive energy. And I take that incredibly seriously. I know that you do too. So I celebrate you for being here. The fact that Leon and team puts this together for you every single month with me, I can't express my own gratitude for that, but also the realization that you're here watching this says that you're somebody who's committed to your personal development. That maybe you're even obsessed with your personal development a little bit, that you're really like one of those few people who are like, you know what, this is my time to grow and to learn and to lead. So I celebrate you being here. And that last part I just mentioned that I dial in this time of year, I said presence, I said joy, and that last one is reverence for life. I really believe that the holidays, especially for those who celebrate Christmas or other religious traditions at this time of year, I think it's incredibly powerful to reconnect with the blessings of birth, the blessings of life, the blessings of the reality that amid all the crazy things in this world that we are still here and we are getting to celebrate. I just feel like that's a really hard thing to quantify, a hard thing to explain, a hard thing to remind ourselves sometimes because we're so busy. And so I hope that you will give yourself a little bit of a gift this time of year to connect with presence, to connect with joy, but also do those things because you are so lucky to be alive. In the last week alone, two really dear friends lost incredibly close people to them. And one was to cancer and one was to another sickness and old age. And it just reminds me how lucky we are to be here. Frankly, I don't even know how to put it. It's been such an emotional last 72 hours for myself and my friends and team. And I just feel like, don't go into the holidays forgetting how lucky you are to have this breath, to have this opportunity, to have your family, your friends, the things that you do have that you take for granted, a roof over your head, opportunity like you have here to be building a career. I think this is the time to lock in with that and really connect with that. Don't finish this decade dissatisfied with the decade you just had. A lot of people feel like, oh, I could have got further. I could accomplish more things. And all that might be true. Maybe you could have had a better last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Maybe you could have had a better last decade, but now you are here. So connect with that feeling of gratitude and joy and presence that says, you know what, I'm here. I still got a chance. Let me get warmed up and let me enter this next decade more intentional, more disciplined, more connected to my own presence and joy and reverence for life. Because I bet every single time you got frustrated with this last decade, there's a moment where you checked out. There's a moment where you got overwhelmed. So you kind of turned off for a minute. You disconnected from other people. You disconnected from your passion, from your purpose, from your faith. And it was in that disconnection that stole away the vibrancy of life. And I don't want you finishing this year in a way where you are dissatisfied. If you have this breath right now, be real. Have reverence for life. I don't want you to finish this decade because things didn't get as far as you want. You're not as wealthy as you want. The kids aren't perfect. The career isn't going as fast as you want it to be. And so you're dissatisfied. No, use those things to energize you to improve. Don't be dissatisfied. Be energized to improve. That's what's important. Like, so many people think, well, dissatisfaction is going to drive you. No, dissatisfaction is going to make you miserable. You can be driven without being dissatisfied. How's that for a quotable? You can be driven without being dissatisfied. Like, I'm an incredibly driven, happy person. And yes, I'm a hot mess in some parts of my life, just like you are. But it means I'm finishing this decade in a good place. And I want you to finish this decade in a great place, feeling so connected, feeling so ready, feeling so grateful, so that when we enter 2020, the universe goes, oh, look at this young man, look at this young woman, look at this person who's prepared now, who appreciates life. Let us reward this person who appreciates life with more abundance, more opportunity, more just ability. Because I really believe when you are operating from a place of dissatisfaction and like you're just like bemoaning and just upset about the year, that is not going to attract anything good in the new year. And that's certainly not going to motivate you. So I want you to be like, have the intention to finish this year in a good place, whatever that means for you. If you need to meditate, you got to go to church, you got to take some time journaling and thinking through things. Please end the year in a good place. I know I spoke a little bit about that last time we were together, but I want to reconnect you. We're heading in the holidays. Reconnect with your presence, reconnect with joy, reconnect with reverence for life. And then everything else I'm going to talk about winning in 2020. You will be in the right energy to be able to manifest that, create that, and activate that, my friends. So let's talk about the new year. Let's talk about 2020. Let's talk about this new decade. I mean, I'm still trying to fathom the fact that we have a new decade coming up. I just think it's so exciting. You only get what, maybe if you're the average lifespan, you get 6, 7, or 8 of these things. 6, 7, or 8 times of your life, you get them. And the first 2 times that you got these decade begins, these times where a new decade begins, you were kind of, young and dumb. If you're honest, if you can look back from a mature standpoint, you're like, wow, I really didn't know anything about life yet. And now you're entering this next decade, a more mature person, a more thoughtful person, a more ready person, a more equipped person, a more driven person, because you're simply watching this level of personal development. So I know that you're here and you're excited about it. So let me share with you what I know to be true from a human psychology and human performance standpoint about what makes a year special for people. And frankly, what makes a year and a life meaningful for people. Because I know you're about to set your New Year's goals and you want to crush it in 2020. But let me share something with you. Did you know there are only 3 primary aspirations that you have? And your job is to know those 3 primary aspirations and to service those 3 primary aspirations as you enter not just, a new decade or new year, but literally every week and every day. You only want 3 things in life. And once you get that, it's like, oh, now I can orient myself, because I know you're probably somebody who's making a long list of all the things you want to accomplish in 2020. You probably got like note cards and journals, and you've probably written something on the fridge, or you've talked with the girlfriends, and you've got everything like just set up. And you're already thinking through what you want for 2020. But that entire list could be bucketed into just 3 things. Because as human beings, my philosophy and my belief is we only have 3 primary aspirations. And everything revolves around these 3 primary aspirations. And by the way, everything your teenager does can be explained by these 3 primary aspirations. Everything you did in the last week, the last quarter, the last decade of your life can be explained by how you attempted to service these 3 primary aspirations. Were you aware of them? Were you conscious about them? Were you deliberate about them? Or did you just go through the motions? Because that's what will prevent you from winning in 2020 and beyond, is being unaware of your own aspirations and ambitions, right? You read High Performance Habits, my book, I hope, and you read the first habit of all high performing people is to seek clarity. They're always trying to get more clarity about what they're trying to do, more clarity about how to win, more clarity about who they are, more clarity about how to be a better leader, more clarity about how to build a business. They're seeking clarity. They're lifelong learners, but they're willing to ask the questions. And so these three primary aspirations I'm going to share with you can be your organizing structure around everything else you do. And once you know that you only want three things, you're like, oh my gosh, it's almost like a relief because, human behavior, so many people are completely mystified by it. I'm like, why? You only want three things. Everything else revolves around them. So my job today, I'm going to share with you those three primary human aspirations. And then I'm going to break down for you what I would make sure you absolutely do all year long in 2020 to win the year. Okay, those are my two big things we're going to talk about today. The three primary aspirations, and then the 5 things you should do all year to win the year. Okay, let's start with the primary aspirations. And I'm going to use a different term here for you because it's just easier for people to conceptualize sometimes than the word aspiration, which is goals, right? We have 3 big buckets of goals, and we aspire to keep leveling up those goals and leveling up our experience in these areas. So let's talk about those 3 primary aspirations or goals. The first one that you have are what we call your being goals. Okay. First one we have is your being goals. Now, what does that mean? It means that each of us wants to live a vibrant life in which we are proud of our character. We want to, in other words, live an energized and congruent life. That's what being goals are for all humans. Every human wants to have good energy and wants to be proud of themselves. Let me say it again. Every human wants to have good energy and wants to be proud of themselves. If they're sick, they want better health and energy. If they're off their game and they're out of integrity and they've been living like somebody else, they're like they want to realign to the best of who they are to be more congruent with who they authentically are. Everybody has that. We want to be the person we aspire to be. We want to be in alignment with that, in congruent with that, in integrity with that, however you want to use those words. But there's 2 goals under being goals. One, we all want to have good energy. And we all want to, number 2, we all want to be congruent and proud of the best of who we are. So, can you imagine someone saying, well, no, Brendon, I want to feel like crap. No one is ever going to say that to you, ever. No one will ever say, I want to feel terrible, right? People will say, I feel terrible, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm miserable, but they won't say, I want that. Everyone wants to avoid that kind of pain. And what do they want? They want higher levels of energy. And energy, when I speak about it, I've always talked about the idea and the conceptualization. The energy is mental energy, physical energy, spiritual energy. It is a physical vitality, but also a mental and spiritual vitality. And so my question to you is, what are you going to do in 2020 to improve your energy? What are you going to do? Or are you going to work out more? Because did you know high performers are over 40% more likely to work out 5 times per week than underperformers? Did you know high performers are 60% more likely to value good nutrition than underperformers? Did you know that high performers really care about the people who they surround themselves with? They want to be talking to leaders. They want to be connected in a positive community. They want what you guys have here, being part of this community. Did you know that and how vital that is? So please hear me here. I'm letting you know that this is really important. Your energy must be an absolute high level of priority for you, because you'll be unhappy if you have poor energy. I know that's a no-brainer, but very few people set up a daily routine that protects their energy. They don't take breaks. They don't work out. They don't drink enough water. They choose bad food. They don't go to bed early enough. They don't give themselves a mental break from all the craziness by turning off the phone for a second. They like simple things that they don't do to protect their energy. but you are the guardian at the gate of your own energy. You are the creator of your energy on an ongoing basis. And so I'm here to tell you that one of your primary aspirations in life is how you're being, your sense of being, and your energy around that is everything. So set goals around energy and be aware of where traditionally you sucked at that. Because listen, every one of us can have low levels of energy. Isn't it true? And we have things that we do that create bad energy. You need to be aware of those things. Sometimes you create bad energy because you're a gossip. Sometimes you create bad energy because you get pulled into drama. Sometimes you create bad energy by your reading habits, reading all the negative things out there. Sometimes you create bad energy by just refusing to get up and go to the gym, even though you know you need to. Like these simple things. But also let's talk about the other part of being goals. We want to be proud of who we are becoming. What would you have to do to realign with who you really are again? What tasks would you have to stop doing? What things should you start doing that would help you realign with your real passions, your real heart, your real soul? You know, I think about 2019, one of the things I did is I got away with a part of my being, what I identify my being with and what I identify with is I'm a writer and I love being a writer as an example. And I didn't write enough in 2019. And even though I've done so many amazing things, I didn't feel fulfilled as much as I could because I wasn't aligned with that part of me that's so passionate about my art of writing. So in 2020, I got to realign with that. Oh yeah, I got to realign with my art. I love doing that thing. I haven't been doing enough of that. Does that make sense? So what would make you proud in 2020? What would you have to become to be more proud of yourself? See, a lot of people lack self-esteem. And they lack self-esteem because they lack alignment with living in integrity with their authentic selves. They're not being who they really know they are, or they're not being who they know they could become. And so instead, they're being a cog in somebody else's machine. They're marching under somebody else's banner. They're being somebody else. And they're just going through the motions of reaction versus intentionally living as who they know they can be. Your job is to intentionally live as who you know you can be on a consistent basis. I know you know this, but I'm telling you, you've got to architect that into your 2020. You've got to architect how you can be the best of who you are. You want to finish each year proud of who you are. And if you can get there, I promise it will change things. That's the being goals. Okay, I said there's three, right? The number one primary aspiration is being goals. Our energy and congruence with the best of who we know we can be. Number two is our relating goals. Relating goals. These are our primary aspirations of the relationships we have with the world. Because, right, so much of our joy, so much of our connection as a human species is with each other, right? We all want that feeling of connection and caring with other people. That's what our primary relating goals are, is we want a deeper connection, intimacy, vibrancy, relationship with other people. And we want to care for and feel cared for at deep levels. So all of our relating goals come back to our orientation and depth of relationship with others. So think about your relationships. Are you really in those relationships? Or you got one foot out? You know, so many people are half-hearted leaders, half-interested lovers, half-attentive parents, that they never go in with full presence and full commitment into a relationship. And so they don't ever feel happy. They don't have deep, meaningful relationships. And so what do? They blame everybody. Oh, well, you know, Bumble and you know, Match.com and all these other different websites, they don't do a good enough job of connecting with good people, or Facebook doesn't connect with people. We blame technology, or we blame, oh, these people are keeping me down, or this person makes me feel like this. And we do everything we can. In no other area is more complaint and more blame thrown than in our relationships. Isn't it true? I mean, think about someone complaining. They're almost always complaining about relationships. their relationships with others or their relationship to the world or relationships that other people have. And so your job is to ask questions to say, how can I deepen my connection with other people this year? I want you to make a whole list of all the most important people in your life. I mean, literally the most important people in your life. I would encourage you to write them all down. The most important people in your life. And I'd even encourage you, order them. And people go, oh my God, don't order people, Brendon. You can't order people like tasks. I'm like, oh no, you can't. Because maybe your husband or your wife is more important than your neighbor or somebody else who is also vying for your time. You haven't had a date night in 6 months, but you keep giving your team time on phone to talk about, tasks that they should have done before, right? We got to be careful about how we spend our time, as we'll talk about. I really believe that the two things we want in our relationship goals are deeper connection and more caring. For deeper connection, that's us. We got to be proactive there. We got to seek out other people. We got to find out what they need. We've got to have more intimate, real connection time with people away from our phones, date nights, friendship time at lunch, like adventures together. On caring, we have a deep human desire to be cared for, right? Children need to be cared for, or it alters their future path in very negative consequences, right? That takes a lot of personal development or therapy to overcome. So I want you to really think about, how can you ask for more caring this year? If you don't feel cared for in your life, trust me, you could do all the health goals, go to the gym, do lots of other things, but if you don't feel cared for in your life, almost everything can be in place. But you can end up feeling like Scrooge. People don't care. I don't care for them. I mean, think about Scrooge this time of year. What is Scrooge's fundamental lack of aspiration? Where is he failing the most? Connection with other people and caring from other people. The entire story that we read from Charles Dickens is that here's this character who lacks relationships. Isn't it true? And so relationships are a primary aspiration that we need to have. And sometimes we need a hard sort of reset. Scrooge needed it by visitations of death, as an example. You've got to say, how can I deepen my connections, but also how can I ask for more caring? If you don't feel like your husband cares enough for you, ask. To have a real conversation. Don't lay hints out about the table. No, sit down and say, listen, I'm not feeling cared for. I'm not feeling as connected to you as I want to be. I want us to have a deep, caring, vibrant, intimate life, and we don't have that. Think about the leaders that you lead. Think about those who maybe you have a leader who's like, you're not getting enough attention from. Or if you're a leader, as many of you guys are watching this, obviously you should be going, how can I deepen my relationship and the connection I have with those that I lead? Like, what specifically am I going to do all year long? Because these aspirations don't go away. It's important to be thinking about this as leaders, because guess what? With those that you lead, you got to know who they're trying to become, and you got to know about the quality relationships they want in their life before you tell them to go do stuff. Just something to think about. Third big idea of primary aspirations is the idea that we all have creating or creation goals. Creation goals. So this also has two areas. Creation goals, one of the primary ones for creation goals is we all want to create things and do things that we find are meaningful because they're contributing. So a creation goal is contribution. Like, how can I give or do something that makes a difference? That desire you have to make a difference, that is a creation goal. I want to create a difference here, right? Your volunteerism is a creation goal. I want to create, magic here. I want to create a connection here. I want to create something here that makes a difference. Like, we all want to contribute something. How do we contribute something? We need to create that moment or create that thing or create that process or create that relationship, right? So it's a creation goal. It's like, I need to do something that makes the difference. The other aspect of creation is I want to be creating things that I'm passionate about, that I just find personally meaningful. I want to create things like art that I love to create. I want to create, adventures. I want to create moments. I want to create things that maybe they don't give, to the world. They don't make the world a better place, but they're near and dear to my heart. I call these craft goals, right? The craft, the things that we like to do that maybe just you love to like knit little hand wash things, or obviously I know nothing about knitting, but you want to knit some things, a blanket, you want to knit, a hand towel, you want to knit something for your family, for somebody. That could be for contribution reasons, right? You want to give something to them, or it might just be your art. You just do it for yourself. Like there's a lot of things that I write just for me. It's not something, so there's some things I write to make a difference. I'm going to, release this book, and I'm going to put this book in the world, or I'm going to create the high performance planner. I'm going to put that into the world. That's going to make my difference. Great. But there's also another part of me that just writes for myself. I'm creating words on a page that I find are passionate. It's my craft. There's no reason for it per se, but it's in creating that makes me feel fulfilled. So let's talk about a few of these ideas real fast. I know some of you say, well, no, but Brendon, I also want to, create for my family abundance. One of my big goals is to become wealthier in the career that you're in. I want to be more wealthy in my career, Brendon. Where does that fit in? Well, guess what? That's the experience you're trying to create. Abundance or wealth is a creation goal. I'm trying to create what? Abundance. I'm trying to create what? Wealth. I'm trying to create what? Security. You're manifesting and creating through your own efforts that thing. That's a creation goal. That's a creative goal. I want to create abundance. I want to create wealth. Now, we all have different ways of achieving that or doing that maybe, but at the end of the day, that's a creation type goal. Does that make sense? So for those who are like, well, Brendon, I have these travel goals. Where would that fit? That also live under creation. You want to create an experience. That's why you're traveling. See, a lot of people don't realize, they think they want all these things, but what they really want always falls under being goals, relating goals, or creation goals. Now, some people say, well, but Brendon, I have real goals here to, lose some weight. That's your vibrancy. That's how you feel. That's the goals of being. That's how you are in the world, right? Well, Brendon, I just want to make more wealth. Great. That's creation goals. You're trying to create an experience and security for your family. Brendon, I just want to, feel loved again. That's relating goals. So all those can be centered around those three things. So what I do each year is I just write being, relating, and creation goals or creating goals. And I brainstorm under each of those three things. And I'll brainstorm a full list under each of those things. And the next day I'll come back and I'll do it again to see if there's anything to add. And I literally do that basically for me from Christmas to New Year's. I'm just iterating through those lists. And then I start prioritizing those lists. Then I start breaking those lists down into projects. Then I start breaking those projects down into dates and deadlines. Does that make sense? So why is this important? Because I really believe you just can't be setting random goals. Because listen, there's a difference between like strategic planning your 2020 and just making a to-do list. Does that make sense? A lot of people just write a to-do list, but that to-do list is not aligned with their primary aspirations of life. And that's why they never do them. They have all these random notes that don't align to a narrative of who they're becoming, how they're relating with the world, and what they're creating in this world. And once you understand that, wow, now I can align myself. And that's a game change right there. That's like a fundamental game change. Got it? Okay. So those are the three primary aspirations I wanted to talk about today. And now I want to share with you 5 things that you can do to really kick this year into high gear. Now, if you've been with us for a while, or you've been in my community for a while, or read High Performance Habits, maybe some of this is redundant for you, and that's good. Because I really believe with higher intention and deeper discipline this year, you're going to do great. And some of the things we're going to talk about are just discipline things you should do. But listen, common sense is not always common practice. And that's why so many people who could be extraordinary fail to reach their full potential, They're not even doing the foundational things. You know the foundational things you should be doing in your life. It's time to do them more. If it's with that discipline that suddenly we become extraordinary, if you struggle with that, go to my YouTube channel and type in discipline and you'll find a video on that. Matter of fact, watch anything from me on YouTube and you'll like, there's hundreds of hours there for you on any topic you could possibly need. How do I deal with stress? How do I have a better relationship? How do I meditate? How do I, be more productive? Whatever, there's something for you on my YouTube channel, so check it out. So if this seems redundant in any way, good. We all need a coach to remind us of the fundamentals. And that's what these are. Because I bet you can look at each of these things I'm gonna teach you, these last 5 things. And I bet each of them you can say, dang, Brendon, I wasn't as disciplined as I could have been, or as intentional as I could have been in this last year or this last decade in each of these areas. Watch this first one. You all know this one, and I bet you weren't as intentional or disciplined as you could be. Listen to this one. Quarterly, weekly, and daily goals. Quarterly, weekly, and daily goals. Quarterly, weekly, and daily goals. Think about that. In 2019, did you have clear quarterly goals? What about 2018, 2017, 2016, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10? Huh? Were you as intentional and disciplined about writing out and setting quarterly, weekly, and daily goals? Did you set the quarterly goal and work it backwards into a monthly goal, and work it backwards into a weekly goal, and work it backwards into daily goals? Or did you just wake up each day and go, guess I got to go to work? Did you just wake up each day and turn to your phone looking for some inspiration, going like this, scrolling through? Did you really live your life in any goal-based way in the last decade on a consistent basis? Not you set a New Year's resolution, hope to stick to it. No. You strategically planned the year. Like, go out, not just to 2020, go to the very end of 2020. End of 2021, 22, 23, 24, all the way up to 2030 if you want to, and just ask, what are the primary things I would love to achieve, have, feel, experience, be, relate, create, and work it all backwards. If that sounds overwhelming, just say, what are my 2020 major goals, and how do I break that down into quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals? You should not ever start a Monday without clarity about what must happen by Friday. You should never start a Monday without clarity about what must happen by Friday. Otherwise, you're going through the motions and you're losing a lot of time. I know you know this, but this one is so simple. When I come into people's lives as a high performance coach, and it's one of the very first things, if you ever heard me work with all these celebrities and heard them talk about working with me, the funniest things they all say, well, yeah, first thing he did is made me open up my calendar. I don't ask them almost anything. First I say, let me see your calendar. And if I look in their calendar and I can't see that they've been architecting something out, if I can't see they're working backwards from some primary goal, then it just looks like a bunch of random meetings, or it looks like, no scheduled or block time. I know there's a lot of opportunity there to help them get back on path. I would love to see your calendar. I would love to know that you have somewhere maybe in your office, a big sheet of paper that has all the months drawn out, 12 boxes on it. Here's what's going to happen to each of those months. And then what's going to happen in each of your weeks. And then you're going to be back on track again. Everyone knows they should do goals, and so few people look at their goals. Less than, at least in our research, less than 20% of the North American public looks at their goals every week. They don't. They just say, well, what are my meetings? Or where am I traveling to? But they're not looking at goals. That's why I really believe this bigger and bigger and bigger divide of people is happening, is because some people are failing to consider what they really want in life. And they're not working every day towards achieving quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals. So they're lost in distraction. Next big idea, which I know you know, but this is going to help. Your morning work prep. Your morning work prep. This is really important for this community. Now, you know about maybe a morning routine, right? For me, my morning routine, I get up. And for 20 minutes, I just move my body. I do mobility, yoga, calisthenics type work just to open up my body. Then for 20 minutes, I read something really positive. But then for 20 minutes, I plan the day. Now, even though I have my quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals broken out, I still do my morning work prep. What does that mean? It means I sit down, for me personally, I sit down with my high performance planner. It helps me get my mindset in the right place, helps me look at my day, helps me consider the things that are important. But here's the most important thing about the morning work prep. Even if your day is already scheduled, what I'd love for you to do in preparing for your work every day is write down what are your goals this day. I would like you to look at your current schedule and ask a simple question. How could I fulfill this day with excellence? How could I fulfill this day with excellence? And what I want you to do basically is literally look at the day, know what you want of the day, and then close your eyes and visualize the successful completion of the day. Meaning, I want you to visualize or meditate on each of the major activities of the day and ask, how could I do that with real authenticity and excellence? I'll give you an example. Today, you guys are all watching me right now. Today, before I got here, when I did my morning work prep, I already thought through this entire session before I ever got to the session. In the morning, I just visualized. I saw myself teaching. I thought about my energy. What should my energy look like? What would make me enjoy that process? What would make me be on excellent service today for this community? I challenged myself to see it, think through it, feel it before I ever got there. I have a meeting in another 3 hours from now that I already visualized and walked through what I'm going to say, how it's going to feel, how I'm going to impact the other person. This morning, I already thought through a meeting happening in 3 hours from now. That's part of my morning work prep. It might take 10, 15 minutes just to sit down there, look at each meeting, close my eyes, think about how to do that with excellence. Oh, I see I'm going to be writing then. Let me just think through, how do I want that writing experience to feel? What are some key points I might say? Just thinking through the day. Notice I didn't say start the day answering emails or doing DMs or voice text or message. No messaging. Mindfulness, visualization, thoughtfulness about how you're going to win the day. Most people, they just bumble into the day. They literally crash land into the day all day long. They're crash landing into 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're completely winging it all day. And they're wondering why their life lacks strategic direction and fulfillment. Something to think about. Next big idea. This is huge. I can't tell you how important this has become. I know I've mentioned this to my community constantly, and you guys, it's just so important, is that you've got to block time for socials. What does that mean? Block time your socials. Block time your socials. What does this mean? Block timing socials means this. You should never just pick up your phone randomly and scroll through Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Ever. You should never just randomly pick up your phone to check email either. Ever. This is either a weapon of distraction for you, or this can be something that keeps you on your A game. But I'm telling you what, if you let it dictate terms, you lose. So what do I mean by that? Well, did you know the average American, let's see, the average American does 30 minutes per day on Facebook. 30 minutes per day on Facebook. Now that's the average. That's just Facebook, not all social media. Just looking at Facebook alone, where they pick up Facebook randomly. Now, if you do the math on this, and this is why I say you have to block the time, like schedule time. I do social media twice per day. That's it. I only do social media twice per day. It's blocked in my schedule when I'm going to pick up and utilize social media. It's also scheduled when I'm going to check social media. That's it. Why do I do that? Because listen to the numbers here. Did you know 30 minutes a day on Facebook? Listen to these numbers, y'all. I'm going to read them to you. 30 minutes a day on Facebook equates to 3.5 hours a week. That's 182 hours per year. And for those who have a career like I do, or in any career you're working, guess what? That means 30 minutes a day equals 22 work days. That means that basically 22 work days is basically 4 full weeks of work weeks per year. 4 weeks. That means you lost a month of work by checking on Facebook 30 minutes a day. Now, if you're using Facebook to build your business, that's a very different thing, but that should be scheduled. You should say, oh, it's time to do that activity right now. Let me go do the Facebook thing. What else? And I'm not just picking on Facebook here. I'm picking on all social media, 30 minutes a day. Guess what? 60 minutes a day. Well, you double it, right? So if you spend 60 minutes a day on social media, consuming, being distracted by it, guess what? That equates to 44 work days. 44 8-hour work days. 44 8-hour work days. That is what? Over 8 weeks. So now you're 2 months of the entire work year, 2 months just consuming. If you only do 60 minutes of social media a day. And that's what most people are doing when you can take in all social media. They're consuming over 60 minutes of consumption, distraction. They're not utilizing it to do something. That's just consumption. Well, guess what? The average American will report that they have 90 minutes of distraction per day outside of social media. Now let's take that one into account. 90 minutes of distraction per day. What does that equal? That equals 66 work days per year. Why do I say you need to know your quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals? Because if you don't, if you lose 90 minutes a day to distraction, that's 66 work days. That's 13 weeks. That's 3 full months of the work year gone. Let that sink in for a second. This is why I need to teach you. You have to block time your socials. I'm here to tell you, distraction and the number one thing ruining people's lives of achievement right now in the world is social media. 100%. Out of lack of clarity and lack of the ability to manage their own energy, they don't know what to do with themselves and they're bored. So they pick this up and they let this thing take over their brain and they lose momentum towards what matters. What else? I think it's insanely important that you have the mindset of this question. If I had to double the thing I'm doing, what would I do? If I had to double the thing I'm doing, what would I do? If I had to double the thing that I'm doing, what would I do? I ask myself this question all the time. I think it's a great question of high performance. And some of you go, oh my God, that stresses me out. No, you should absolutely be asking this question. If you had to double what you are currently doing, how would you do it? What would you delegate? What would you stop doing? What would you start doing? Some of you, you're like, oh, I'd like to make more money. No, at least ask, how would I double it? What would I have to do to at least minimum double it? Same thing. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go on a date night with Denise, my wife. I go, how can I double the fun we're about to have? Because I already know by default what we would do. Now I'm asking, how would I double it? You're going to go, you're going to go out and take the kids out to the park. How can you double the amount of fun you're going to have? Now, I know doubling is arbitrary because some of you know, Brendon, I want to 10x my business this year. Cool. That's great. But it's the same mentality. It's the mentality of asking, how would I dramatically increase this thing? How could you not just have more happiness? How could you double the happiness you have? It doesn't mean you have to hit the goal. It doesn't mean you have to double your revenue and hit that goal. It means by asking the question, it forces you to realize what is essential and what is non-essential. And too many people fail to do that categorization. What is essential? What is non-essential? And because I'm constantly asking, how can I double it? It's making me go, oh, these things I'm doing over here, this is stupid. Let me delegate that. Let me focus over here. Like next year, I said, how can I double the number of books I'm going to release? That's really changed the way I approach my writing and the release scheduling. I hope that will inspire you. And last big idea, huge for 2020 and your success beyond. You need to talk with leaders every single week. Now, I know that's the benefit that you guys receive here, being part of this community. You're with me here every week or every month. Awesome. But listen, you got to be with your leaders you got to call industry leaders. You got to call your leaders up the food chain. You got to talk with leaders every single week about your performance. Every single week, you would need to talk about 2 things with leaders. What are your goals? I'm sorry, it's 3 things. 3 things with leaders every single week. What are your goals? Then, what is your performance towards those goals? And then 3, how can you help them? Every single week, I'm on a phone with some leader in my industry. Every single week. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's how I feel it's going. What do you need help with? Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's how I feel it's going. What do you need help with? I ask that every single week. I'm constantly in communication with leaders in my industry. by networking with them, going to their seminars, meeting them at conferences, going to the big annual conference, like getting around leaders and being in conversation with them constantly. It inspires me. They give me their new strategies, what's working for them that I can implement, copy, follow. It also helps them know what I need so they can give me some advice or some resources or tools or connect me with somebody who knows the answer. It also has me asking them what they need. And so that I can be of service to them, which increases the likelihood that they'll help us, right? Give and you shall receive. I think you need to way amp up the amount of conversation you're having with leaders. Not your neighbor who doesn't know anything. No, the people who are in your industry already succeeding. Have conversations with them consistently, schedule them, make them happen, be disciplined about that, and it will change the direction of your life. I can't emphasize that more than anything else. Listen, we all want to be in good energy and proud of who we are. We all want to relate with people so we have deeper connections and real caring in our lives. And we all want to create experiences and abundance and contributions in our lives that make life feel meaningful and magical. So now you know, this is what's up. I hope you enjoyed my 2020 session. I have so much joy for you. I have so much appreciation for you. Thank you for having me in your community. Thank you for being part of my community. Thank you for all of those who send out us beautiful things, that follow me on Instagram, listen to the Brendon Show podcast, buy our books, whatever you do to support me in my craft. Thank you for that. But also, I have high ambitions for you in 2020. I want you to raise your ambitions and deepen your discipline. Raise your ambitions and deepen your discipline in 2020. I want you to have an awesome end of this year and kick off 2020 in a place of real presence, joy, and reverence for life. Thanks, everybody. I hope to chat with you soon online or see you out on the road. Until then, go out every single day, live fully, love openly, make your difference today.